Welcome back to part 4, the last and final part to this reactivity case study series with Koda. So in the previous parts, we have a couple blocks ago, we passed by a dog that was allowed to almost entirely cross the street on a flexi to try to go up to Koda. That elicited a reaction from Koda. And then we also had a dog in a yard right next to us that was on an e-fence, and we had to navigate around those. And so now, 2 blocks later, we are now passing. Some of you may already be familiar with this dog. We have done a couple videos with this dog before. This is a husky on a tie-out. He means well, but he's still reactive from excitement and frustration from being on a tether and not being allowed to greet. And so in the past, Koda has struggled a little bit passing by this house. He's never had a full reaction, but he's always been a little bit uncomfortable because, of course, he's trying to pass by a dog on a tether in a yard where they are very rambunctious and very vocal, and he doesn't always quite know what to do with that. So I'm just here to support him as much as possible and help him get through this scenario as much as possible on his own. I really didn't know how to what to expect from Koda in terms of how he was going to handle this, knowing that he already had a lot of stress from the last couple instances that he'd just gone through with some other dogs. So I anticipated we would probably need to cross the street, and was just kind of thinking in my mind the things that I might need to do for him. Just like with the other dogs, I might need to do some body blocking. I might need to do a little leash pressure, help guide him away, need to use some treats, maybe do some treat scatters. I was just kind of keeping that in my mind while just kind of monitoring Koda, monitoring his body language, and seeing how he tolerates passing this dog, once again, when he already has stress in his body to begin with before encountering him. Okay, so Koda handled this much better than I thought he would, and this is the best that he's honestly ever done. So he sees the dog here. You can tell that he got a little bit more alert here. His tail is a little bit curled. He's a little unsure, but he's confident enough to continue on this side of the street and pay the dog very minimal interest. The first time that we passed by this dog, Koda needed some time to just stand and watch the husky and feel better. Ever since then, he's done a little better, but he's needed some space across the street, and he's created that for himself. But here, I mean, he stayed the entire time on that side of the street. He's very happy to work on some sniffing for himself and engage with me and continue on his way. So if we just do a quick body language breakdown here, you see Koda's tail rose a little bit, his head rose, his ears are forward, but the rest of his body is fairly relaxed. His head, he kind of dropped it back down. He's mostly just kind of doing some peripheral glances. His tail is still a little curled, but it's kind of in a moderate, it's not all the way up, it's not all the way down. He's just kind of doing occasional glances to the dog, doing some sniffing on the ground to get a little more information, but his ears kind of rotate between being forward and being to the side. He kind of comes and engages with me. I reward that. He checks a couple more times, engages with me again, and then moves on and continues to sniff the ground over here to kind of de-escalate himself and maybe to potentially get a little more information about that other dog as well. But you'll see here his tail kind of lowers down a little bit more. And he's just overall very relaxed in comparison to the other videos. This is kind of what you want to see when you're making progress with your dog. Not completely neutral here, but pretty close though.